All right, you bottom tiers. Now, process of elimination would dictate that you would know which one of you are in the bottom tier. But if you haven't done the math yet, just want to let you know that no team that has appeared in my third or lowest tier, because I did one time have 4 tiers, um, has ever made the playoffs. I'm taking a little bit more of a risk this time, mainly because I'm doing 3 teams instead of 4. Instead of 2. I have done 3 one other time, but it was bottom tier, and then Ted's team, which, Ted's team was really bad at that time, and blah, 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 blah. And now look where he's at. So consider this constructive criticism and a way to build towards a future of 2014 where you might have a chance to take this off of me while I'm trying to go for a three-peat. Anyhow, first team in the bottom tier is I Am Der Wiener. Now, he's getting married, so his mind has been everywhere else, and he had a book that told him to take Darren McFadden. You can't blame him. Anyhow, he kept Drew Brees, Trent Richardson, and who else did you keep? Oh, Roddy White. I'm sorry, Roddy White. Um, all 3 very good starters. Or no, you kept Darren McFadden, I think. I can't remember which was the third person that you kept. Either way, Drew Brees, obviously number 1 quarterback. You gotta love him. So how can you be in the bottom, especially with Trent Richardson? Great rookie last year, can only be getting better, right? Problem is, you have Darren McFadden in your flex. If he's healthy, he's still inconsistent. You have Monty Ball. Granted, I actually like Monty Ball, and I feel like he's going to do well. Problem is, how long is it going to take him to do well? Is he going to share carries with Noshawn Marino? Not. I don't know. It might end up being good, but I don't think it's going to be soon enough to be able to save your team. Roddy White, I really like. Love Roddy White. Sharing with Julio Jones. They were both in the top 10 last year. I think Julio Jones will still be in the top 10. Roddy White won't have a bad year. He just won't be in the top 10 again. I think he's going to be more around that 16th through 20 receiver this year. Not that his talent isn't high enough. I just don't think his fantasy value is high enough. James Jones from Green Bay. You can't go wrong with Green Bay for a receiver. He was 16th in the league last year. I think the same thing this year. But when both the receivers are bottom fit, like in the 15 through 25 range, and you have McFadden, Monty Ball with a lot of question marks, I just don't see it all coming together. If it all came together, you're in the playoffs and you can have a really strong team. I just don't see it all coming together. Greg Olsen, I actually like as the tight end. I think he's going to be around 5 or 6 best tight end in the league this year. For your bench, Stevie Johnson, good bench player, good fill-in. Vic Ballard, not crazy about. Golden Tate, actually, I do like, especially as a fill-in bye-week player, maybe as a starter once in a while, just with good matchup. Jaquez Rogers, don't like him, especially when Steven Jackson. They're not bringing Steven Jackson there to sit aside for Jaquez, all right? So I just don't really see him having that many touches per game. And then we have Joe Flacco. Like Flacco, he's going to be on the bench for every single week but one. So that doesn't really matter. Either way, you're on the bottom. Mainly because there's just a little bit too many question marks. Could it all come together? Yes. Do I think it will? No. On to the second person in the bottom. Aaron's no longer TE or tight end. I'm thinking this is Aaron Hernandez, who I think murdered a few people. Something like that. least you could have done is pick him with like your last pick. Either way, you just made a trade. You got Frank Gore, like Frankie. You know I love Frankie. It's both fantasy wise and in real life. Quarterback Andrew Luck. Like Andrew Luck, I think he's going to get even better this year. He's 10 last year. I think he's going to be around the 7th best quarterback this year. Mainly because I think the game's going to slow up even a little bit more for him. Not as many interceptions. Eddie Lacy, like him, I think his fantasy value jumped after the injury to his counterpart. We'll see how that works. But again, question mark. Darren Sproles, like him, but not as a number 2 running back, nor Eddie Lacy as a number 1 running back. You got Frank Gore at the flex, and even if you put Frank Gore at the front, I don't think he's still a number 1 running back. He was top 10 running back last year. He was. I just don't see it again this year. And if he was a solid flex, he's amazing as a solid flex. Even as a number 2 running back, I would accept it. But you really don't have a number 1 running back. You have 3 like number 2 or number 3 running backs, and that's not going to work in fantasy. Receivers: Des Bryant, Eric Decker. Like both of them. I don't like Decker as much just because of all the tons of options there in Denver. I think he's the number 3 receiver, kind of. Like, it's Demaryius Thomas. And then Welker's going to get the most touches. And then you got Eric Decker and everything in between. The reason that he was the number 10 receiver last year is because of all the touchdowns. Don't expect that to happen again. Yardage is more consistent than touchdowns in fantasy and in real football. I expect him to have a little bit of fall here. Where you are strong is Jimmy Graham, obviously number 1 tight end. But he averaged under 10 points a game last year. You traded for him. You gave away nothing really for him in the long run. I wouldn't have traded for him either way. Bottom line is, unless if he goes to have like a Gronkowski kind of year, picking up a tight end that early does not behoove anybody. And then Bears defense, you jumped over 2 better defenses to get the Bears defense. I know they were number 1 last year, and that was really off of just a few weeks. If they're in the top 5 this year, I might even just wear the banana suit, just for the hell of it. I don't see it happening. Either way, it's way too early to jump for the Bears. I know you're a Bears fan, so that's probably why you did it. What I do like about you, I actually think you have one of the stronger benches. Hakeem Nicks, I like Tony Romo on your bench, definitely as a spot start. Denarius Moore from Oakland. We'll see how it is, especially with Terrell Pryor now starting for Oakland. He likes to throw the deep ball. Not incredibly accurate, but he does like to throw the deep ball. And a lot of scrambling means a lot of sloppy, broken plays that he's going to score some points on. Kenny Britt, Jaquel Bell, he's not going to play that much. I'm not crazy about him. Brandon Pettigrew's nice. Mikel LaShore, I don't know what is with your Detroit fetish here. But you have 2 of the backup Detroit running backs when the real running back is Reggie Bush. This is why you're in the bottom tier, my friend. Your running backs. Go out, trade. In fact, you might want to trade Breeze, because one player does not a fantasy team make. You trade him away, you might be able to get a mid-level quarterback and a good running back. That might help you a lot. Moving all them down the depth chart is going to really help. Might be able to trade Eddie Lacy away with Breeze. You know, someone solid, someone with maybe some future. Might work out well for you. I don't know. Throw them around. And last, and certainly probably least, we have Barroom Heroes. Peyton Manning, like him of course. Marshawn Lynch, like him of course. Alfred Morris, like him of course. After that, I'm not exactly sure what you were doing. You had 3 good keepers. You had promise. You had a high draft pick. And then you kind of You trade away, you get Frank Gore first, you trade him away for Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah, I get it. You're hoping that Larry Fitzgerald has a big year comeback with Carson Palmer and everything like that. Carson Palmer, he might, but to trade away Frank Gore, who was a top 10 running back, for a guy who was the 42nd ranked receiver, you think it's going to switch up that much? I'm not too sure about that, especially when one team was on the number one rushing team in the league. It's a risky thing that I just don't think a top end receiver, and I'm gonna loosely call him top end receiver in fantasy, is equal to a top end running back at all. Anyhow, Dwayne Bowe with Alex Smith is going to improve, but not as a number one receiver. And then Alshon Jeffrey, you jumped way too high from him, and having him as your number two receiver is just not strong at all. You have Jason Witten. Yeah, that's strong, but you're not going to win or lose on tight end among only maybe three players in the tight ends in this league can do it. Other than your top three, Manning, Lynch, Morris, you're in trouble. And Morris might have a down year this year as well, with Roy coming back and not being hurt. Is going to take some touches away, especially in that Shanahan offense. Look for him to kind of regress just a bit. Still love Alfred Morris, but he's going to regress a little bit. Anyhow, guys, this is why you're bottom tiers. Prove me wrong. No one has yet. Prove me wrong.